Imagine this. You're standing in a cold, sterile courtroom. On one side, there's you. On the other, two strangers who happen to share your DNA. The prize. Your beloved grandfather's $3.4 million estate. And those strangers, they're your biological parents, the same people who abandoned you on a doorstep when you were just 4 months old. This isn't a movie plot. This is Mackenzie's reality. For 32 years, Mackenzie's world revolved around her grandparents. They were the ones who wiped her tears, cheered at her school plays, and beamed with pride when she became a successful prosecutor. Her parents were ghosts, figures she only knew from a single faded photograph. They left her on her grandparents' front porch with nothing but a diaper and a note, and then they vanished. For 3 decades, not a single phone call, not a birthday card, not a whisper. Life went on. But Mackenzie built a life, a career, and a family of her own, all under the loving care of the two people who chose to be her parents. Then her grandfather passed away. The grief was immense, a gaping hole in her life. But before the family could even properly mourn, a certified letter arrived. It was a lawsuit. Her biological parents, Mark and Sarah, had materialized out of thin air. Their claim was as audacious as it was cruel. As the deceased's biological child and son-in-law, they argued they were the rightful heirs to the entire $3.4 million estate. Their lawyer's argument was simple and brutal. Blood is thicker than water. They were asserting their rights. Rights they felt were automatically granted by biology, conveniently ignoring the 32 years of complete and utter abandonment. Mackenzie, a prosecutor accustomed to fighting for justice, found herself in the fight of her life. This wasn't about a stranger. This was about the very definition of family. As she prepared for court, she wasn't just gathering legal documents. She was compiling a lifetime of evidence. Report cards signed by her grandmother. Photos from every single birthday party with her grandparents' arms wrapped around her. Medical records, school enrollment forms, driver's license applications. Every single document listed her grandparents as her legal guardians, her parents in every way that mattered. She was assembling 32 years of receipts, proof of a life they chose not to be a part of. The courtroom was packed. Friends, neighbors, and old family acquaintances filled the benches, a silent army of support for Mackenzie and her grandparents' memory. When Mark and Sarah took the stand, their story was one of regret and unfortunate circumstances. They spoke of being young and scared, of making a mistake they always intended to fix. They claimed they'd always loved her from a distance. Mackenzie listened, her expression unreadable. She saw no remorse in their eyes, only a greedy, calculating hunger. They were playing a part, and they were playing it poorly. When it was Mackenzie's turn, she didn't just present legal arguments. She presented her life. She stood before the judge, not just as a lawyer, but as a daughter. She spoke of late-night stories, of learning to ride a bike with her grandfather running behind her, of her grandmother teaching her how to bake. She painted a vivid picture of a childhood filled with love, stability, and unwavering support, a childhood her biological parents had willingly forfeited. She held up photos, one after another. "This is my first day of school," she said, her voice steady. "My grandmother braided my hair. This is my high school graduation. My grandfather cried. Where were you?" The silence in the courtroom was deafening. Her parents' lawyer objected, calling it an emotional appeal. But Mackenzie's lawyer calmly responded, "Your Honor, the plaintiffs opened this door when they claimed their biological connection entitles them to this estate. We are simply demonstrating the complete absence of any actual parental relationship." The judge allowed her to continue. Mackenzie's voice never wavered as she detailed the complete lack of contact. No birthday gifts, no Christmas calls, no attempts to connect whatsoever. "They say blood is thicker than water," Mackenzie said, looking directly at them. "But love is thicker than blood. Presence is thicker than blood. Responsibility is thicker than blood." The turning point, however, came from an unexpected source. Mackenzie's lawyer called an elderly neighbor, Mrs. Gable, to the stand. She had lived next door to Mackenzie's grandparents for over 50 years. She recounted the night Mackenzie was left on the doorstep. She remembered the heartbreak in her neighbor's eyes and the resolve. But then she revealed something new. A few years after they left Mackenzie, Mark and Sarah had actually come back to the neighborhood. Not to see their daughter, but to ask her grandparents for money. Mrs. Gable had overheard the heated argument from her garden. They were refused, and they left, spewing curses. They didn't even ask to see the little girl they had abandoned. The courtroom murmured. This wasn't a story of regretful parents. It was a story of opportunists. Then came the final, devastating blow. Mackenzie's lawyer presented the last piece of evidence. It was a letter written in her grandfather's familiar, shaky handwriting just a few months before he died. He had given it to his lawyer along with his will, just in case. The letter was addressed to Mackenzie. In it, he wrote about his unconditional love for her, how she was the greatest joy of his life, and then he addressed the possibility of her biological parents returning. He wrote, "If they ever come back, know this. They gave you life, but we gave you a life. They don't deserve you, and they certainly don't deserve anything that belongs to you. Everything I have is for you, the daughter of my heart." As Mackenzie's lawyer read the letter aloud, you could feel the emotional weight settle over the room. Tears streamed down Mackenzie's face, but they were tears of validation, of love that transcended death itself. Her biological parents sat frozen, their faces pale. The performance was over. The greed in their eyes was replaced by the stark realization of defeat. There was nothing more to say. The judge's decision was swift and decisive. He ruled entirely in Mackenzie's favor, dismissing the lawsuit and chastising the plaintiffs for their shameless and morally bankrupt attempt to profit from a child they discarded, leaving the courthouse. Mackenzie wasn't just a wealthy woman, she was vindicated. The money was secondary. But what she had won was a confirmation of what she had known all along. Family isn't about blood. It's about love, sacrifice, and showing up. Her grandparents had shown up for 32 years. Her grandfather, even in death, had shown up one last time to protect her. The victory wasn't just for her, it was for them. It was the final chapter in a story of love triumphing over greed, and proof that the best legacies aren't written in wills, but in the lives we touch. What an incredible story of justice and the true meaning of family. Thank you so much for watching with me today. If this story moved you, please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel for more content that makes you think. We'd love to have you as part of our community. See you in the next video.